So in an effort to constantly be making forward progress on the truck, I know I need a whole bunch of engine parts for that 454 I picked up. I'm basically going to go through it, do bearings, rings, a whole gasket set, clean up the heads, relap the valves and everything, make sure it's good, and I'm going to put a new cam and lifters in it, and then intake carburetor. So that's going to be a fair amount of money, and it's going to take me a couple of months to get that. So I'm trying to sell off all my small block parts that are left over from other projects so that I can put them into that. But in the effort of not getting discouraged about this truck sitting in the meantime, because it is still running and driving, I'm going to focus on a lot of the smaller things that I can get done while I still don't have the parts to put the engine together. So let's see what I can get done. Now, I've shown a lot of the good stuff about this truck. I haven't really shown a lot of the stuff that I consider kind of crappy. Now, the inside of the bed is really nice. You can tell this had a bed liner in it because it does have some scuffing on the paint. I do believe this whole truck has been repainted at least once. And I say that there's a few areas where you can tell that it's been repainted. Like on the inside of the cab, there was some body work done. It's hard to tell on the camera, but there was some body work done in this cab corner. It's not quite perfect, but you can tell in some areas where it's been repainted. There's obviously paint on the fuel tank cover. This door has been replaced with a Taiwanese door, and the paint on here is really, really thick. And so that's one area that's not great, is the paint there. And if you look closely, these two shades of red are not quite the same. I'm not really a fan of red vehicles. I just think it fades too much and attracts attention. But this one, because it's two-tone, it's pretty nice. Now, I mentioned before, this is a Taiwanese door. You can see that right there, made in Taiwan. And this would have had carpet on the bottom of it because there's all the holes for it everywhere. So I have a line on some of the carpet bottoms for the doors. I just don't have the cash to buy them yet, but I do want to get those. The top of this door where all the felt rides on, again, it's tough to tell right now, but it's actually twisted out from somebody reefing on the door panels to get them off. They don't realize on these, when you get them off, you have to push in on the door panel when you lift up, because there are little hooks that kind of grab there. So this door is not great. The little balls that keep this thing from just slamming open are not really working. I think it's missing a piece or it's broken. So these two little cam gear looking things are supposed to ride on a spring-loaded piece of metal that keeps the door from just flying open. That's not a big deal, really. When you close this door, the body line is down about 1/4 of an inch on this door, and I thought originally it was the striker because the striker is extremely worn out. So I bought new strikers, but then I realized you can pick up and down on the door quite a bit. And actually these bolts on the bottom aren't even fully tight. So I got to address that. Also, you can kind of see that there's a dent here in the door. That's what happens when you buy an aftermarket cheap door. So other things that I've noticed, this floor vent is broken. So I like having these floor vents because this is not an AC truck and I will not put AC in it. So I ended up finding a set of those in the correct Carmine red off of Facebook Marketplace for 40 bucks. That was a great deal. People are selling those for well over 100 bucks in some cases. The door panels on this truck are not in great shape. As you can see, armrest is pulling off. They're extremely faded, but they're here. So I believe these are off of an older truck based on the trim. Maybe a couple of years older. My truck's an 86. Maybe these are off like an 82 or an 83. So I might just paint these for now, unless I can find some really good ones for cheap, because I don't feel like spending $200 or $300 on door panels. The grill on this, even though it's the correct one for this truck, it's not my favorite year or style grill. I actually prefer Chevy trucks to GMC, but because this is a GMC, it has the big GMC on the tailgate, the big GMC on the grill. I'll probably leave it with the GMC badges. However, I have some old Bonanza 10 decals or fender emblems, and I don't remember if they went down here or if they went up here on the older trucks, but I might see if I can get the Bonanza 10 emblems to fit. Now, the Bonanza was kind of like a low-end model that had some different features on it back in the 70s. Believe it or not, one of my best friends, Wayne, who kind of got me into square bodies, He had a Bonanza 10 Chevy, and it was like a 79 C10 Bonanza 10. It had a heavy duty rear end. It had a 305 and a 3-speed on the floor, I think, originally. And then he hopped it up and put a big block in it and stuff, and we drag raced with it for years. He's now actually, he has a wheel stander now, and he's living the dream life. He's always wanted to do wheel standing and drag racing and stuff like that, so that's what he's doing now. And I got the matching front wheels for this, so it's got factory rallies in the back. I picked up two 15x7 factory rallies. I mentioned in my last video I fogged them silver. It's not the greatest paint job. I do have all 4 center caps now. I don't have trim rings for these yet, so I got to put the factory center caps on the back wheels, and I have the front wheels with no trim rings, so it'll look a little funny until I get trim rings, but that's something I can work on if I can get these stupid safety lugs off of this thing. I hate it when people use those. So I got to try to get those off. Next, my right directional in the front right-hand corner does not work. Now when I turn the key on, I put the right directional on, nothing happens on the dash. When I put the left one on, it works as it should. The back tail light works, the parking light and the brake light work, so it's not the back one. When I put the right directional on, the back light lights up, which means there's some kind of a problem with the front left directional. Now, this socket, the parking light works on, but the directional does not. So something probably wrong with this socket. The light bulb on the side marker does work. So you can see I've been trying to chase the wires in here. It might be a bad ground in the socket or something else. I've also noticed there's a few other wires in here that are kind of cut. I don't know why. I believe this might have been the second horn wire because it would have gone up here. When they put this trans cooler in there, I think they took the horn out and maybe just cut the wire because it was in the way. So I got to fix that. So there's just a lot of little odds and ends stuff. It's missing a dome light, and it was missing the switch for the cargo light. So found a company on eBay that sells these reproduction ones, and believe it or not, the cargo light works. So that's a win for me. I think those things are super cool, even though it's just a little thing. Now, I couldn't find wiring up in the ceiling for the dome light. I'm thinking that it's possibly maybe this black and white wire. Either this is for the dome light or this is for the seatbelt warning, although the seatbelt light on the dash actually works. So I'm thinking this might be for the dome light, so I need to test this. There is a courtesy light under the dash on that side. That doesn't work either. When I got this thing, I tested out the heater and the blower motor, and that didn't work. But lo and behold, it was missing a fuse. So this is an old school one that doesn't have air conditioning, so it's just like floor economy, which is floor and defroster, and then defroster only, and then it has cold and hot. So I don't know why the panel is missing. I think it's missing the aluminum piece that actually tells you what's going on here. So I need to get one of those, and I need the knobs, obviously. The cigarette lighter doesn't stay closed. The little springs on the side popped out. So I watched a video from a guy on YouTube on how to fix that. I just haven't gotten back to fixing it yet. I do have the other spring that's missing. The glove box isn't screwed in. What else? It's missing a rear view mirror, which I can pick one up. This dashboard is crap. Somebody had glued something onto it at some point. You can tell it's all sticky and peeled up and gross. I have that red one I showed in the last video, so I'm gonna work on getting that in. But I think what I'm gonna start on right now, I'm gonna mount this thing in the pillar to make sure that that's where it needs to go. Then I'm gonna start taking the dash apart because I want to see if that indicator bulb is burned out. Maybe that's why the right directionals don't work. I'm not sure, but it's something I can try. Also, the indicator for the park reverse drive neutral is missing. I don't know if it just fell off or if this one didn't have one. That's not the biggest thing for me. I remember my dad had an 81 square body, and he spent like hours making sure that needle was perfect, adjusting it. It broke off at one point, and he found another one and glued it together, and just funny stuff that people get hung up on over the years. So I'm going to try to get as much little things done as I can while it's still light out, and I'm probably going to film some of it, and I won't film some of it because I just got to work. So we'll see what I can get done. Well, here's something I noticed the other day. When I was looking under the dash, there was a couple of wires that were disconnected. So I took my gauge cluster out, and a couple things. One, the little cable that runs my indicator for my shifter is actually in there, which is good because that means I can hook that back up. I was testing out the wires coming out of this harness, which goes into the gauges, to figure out if my power was getting from my turn signal switch up to the gauges, and it was not. If you trace the wires on the back of the thing, this third wire up, the dark blue wire, is the one that goes to the right turn signal indicator. And the other day when I was looking under the dash, there's a blue wire right here, which has been cut and spliced and is broken again. This goes into the harness for the steering column, which I know is out of the truck already. So what I did was turn the ignition on, took my test light, put it on this wire, and then turn the directional on. So I know that is the power for my right-hand turn signal that's broken going down my steering column. So I'm going to bypass the disconnect plug in the dash, plug this in below the harness for the steering column, and then that should make my directionals work. The reason my test light didn't blink when I did that is because that power runs down the steering column, down to that flasher relay, and then it goes out to the light bulbs. So the wire is actually broken. And this is why I've said before, troubleshooting cars is one of the best things that you can learn how to do. And in my particular case, most of the little things that I've already found that are broken were just simple fixes. Well, once again, the power of troubleshooting. I fixed one problem under the dash, got the dash light to work, but it still didn't make the directional work. So I knew it was a dark blue wire. I followed it all the way out here in the wiring harness, and when I touched the connection, it fell apart. So now, when I touch these two together, I can get it to touch together. Directional works. So all I got to do is splice this connection back together, which is a 2-second fix, and then my directionals will work. Yeah. So the other night I came out here and I fixed a bunch of stuff, but as you can see, my dash is all still taken apart. I did isolate the issue I had both with my front directional not working and the indicator light in my gauges not working. I have a new set of heater controls, well, a used set of heater controls coming for this because this one is missing the front plate, and just that front plate is like 50 bucks. So I found a whole set of controls, believe it or not, in Canada for about 25 bucks US, because the exchange rate's terrible for them. I got the courtesy light working under the dash. That just needed a bulb, believe it or not. All the door switches work for the lights. I still don't have a dome light yet. I'm working on that, and obviously the interior is pretty much completely apart right now. I'm planning on, I might just leave these speakers in for now. The dash is so easy to take out, it's not a big deal. I do originally or eventually want to replace these front speakers, and then I'm probably going to get, they make some little boxes that go back here in the corner that you can stuff a 6x9 in, so I can put like pillow stuffing in the back corner of the cab and then put those metal boxes in there and shove a 6x9 in, so that'll all be contained with a little bit of sound back there. What else? I got I mentioned I got the kick panels. I'm waiting on all of these little clips that pop into here, the little plastic inserts that drop into all these spaces here. I haven't gotten those yet. I ordered a whole bunch of them, but what I can do is try to start tightening down the rest of the trim. There's a bunch of the speed nuts missing, and believe it or not, there was a whole bunch of them in the glove box of the truck. So I will start putting all this trim back on the front of this so I can put the grill back in. And then the next thing I really want to do actually is try to get these stupid lug nuts off. I bought a lug extractor tool that has like threads cut inside of it, but it's only made for a certain size, and these are too small. It's almost like a 5/8 size bolt, but they are like really, really odd. I mean, they're not 8-point, they're not 6-point. They have all these little divots in them for a special socket that goes on them, and you can buy a couple of different sockets that are similar to that shape for other brand lug nuts, but I don't want to just start buying tons of different lug nut sockets. They're not cheap. So I'm going to try to get the front wheels off of this thing. That's probably going to be what I'll work on tonight. I can put my rear center caps on once I get the lug nuts off of that thing. An intake manifold for the engine for the 454. Right now the 454 is sitting back here in this plastic bag here. I've been squirting it down with WD-40 to keep the moisture from sinking into that thing. I traded a Holley 600 CFM polished aluminum carburetor for this 750 double pumper, which was a huge trade up for me. I'm telling you, this year, I swear nobody has money this year because, again, everything I've done this year has pretty much been all about trading. This is a Holley 4779-9 750 CFM carburetor in pretty good shape. It is kind of weird, though, because it has one gold float bowl and one silver metering block and one gold metering block. So I don't know if the parts have been swapped on this thing. Haven't taken it apart to look inside yet, but even if I have to buy a couple of parts for this thing, it's in pretty good shape. So I think I did all right on that. So this is the intake manifold I picked up, and I'm happy with it and slightly disappointed at the same time, because when I looked at it on Facebook Marketplace, the guy that was selling it had a sticker that said Wyand underneath the valley down here, or underneath the runners in the valley. So I thought, oh, cool, it's a Wyand, air gap, something rather, intake manifold for a big block. And when I got to his house, looked it all over, all the threads are good. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. However, it's definitely not a Wyand dual plane. I think it's actually like a Professional Products crosswind or something similar to that. I'm pretty sure it's a Chinese casting. The casting down here, as you can see, is not very good. So it's got a lot of like weird flashing and stuff. I think it's going to be fine. It's the intake manifold that I need for the truck. It has pretty small oval ports in it, so it should mate up fairly well to my heads. The ports are actually bigger than the ports on my head. I almost have square ports on my heads. They're the peanut port heads. But this will work fine for what I'm doing for now. If I ever get a more rowdy cam and change the heads or anything like that, I'll get a single plane. But for now, this should work out pretty well, and I paid 175 bucks for it. Again, for a Chinese casting intake, it's not a terrific deal, but I needed something, and it'll work for now. If I find anything better in the meantime, I'll keep my eyes open. If I find something for a cheaper price that's decent, I'll buy it, and I'll resell this one. You don't really lose money on this kind of stuff, so let's move on to something else. One other thing I almost forgot to mention, I got my ACC carpet for my truck. And it's not carmine red, but it's a medium red. It looks great. If you're looking for carpets for your vehicles, check rockauto.com. This thing was like 159 bucks on Rock Auto, and if you went to ACC's website, they were much more than that. So great deal on a carpet. It's going to be the OEM carpet. It's already molded for the truck. It has a little bit of the sound deadening stuff on all the footwells and stuff like that, so that's going to drop in. But I do need to paint up the floors in the truck, scuff them down a little bit and paint them before I put that in. I also have some heat reflective, like butyl or asphalt aluminum backed stuff that I'm going to put on the floors to resist heat a little bit and hopefully protect against moisture and things like that. So I got just a million little things to do. The good thing about having a long bed is you can put all the parts in the bed while you're working on the truck, take them out one at a time when you put them back on. So let's see how much work I can get done today. I have about an hour and a half to work on it tonight.
Sweat grit carved in the steel. This ain't just a truck, it's something real. Every bolt a promise, every weld a fight. This old GMC's gonna cruise the night. Steel and gasoline under my skin, building this beast. Where do I begin? Big block roaring, I'll make it sing. Steel and gasoline, it's everything. It's everything. It's everything. Drive shaft spinning past ghosts of the past. Class and power, something built to last. Chevy